Today, a young watchmaker comes out of watchmaking school, puts on Instagram the watch he created as his diploma, and you've immediately got 50 collectors going, take my money. So when we started 20, 25 years ago, there was no social media. There was not even virtually any internet. And to go and get anybody know about you, you had to travel the world and go and give interviews to print magazines who would write about you. So our lives were infinitely more difficult then. So this newer generation have got this absolutely extraordinary opportunity to have a much easier life, at least to get known, than we did.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Watches Talk. Today we have the mastermind behind MB&F, Max Boozer. Max, thank you for having us here in M.A.D Gallery in Dubai Mall today.
Great pleasure, Malik. Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure seeing you since last time in Dubai Watch Week.
Oh yeah, and we just bumped into each other at Watches and Wonders, and there we go.
So Max, how are you and how was Geneva Watch Week?
Look, I have, I'll tell you a funny story. At the end of year interviews I do with my team, one of the crucial people of my team, when I said, how can I improve? What can I do better? He paused, he looked at me, and he's been working with me for 12 years. He said, we would like you to be happier. What? What do you mean? He says, yeah, look what we've achieved. Look where we are. It's incredible. And you're still so much on edge. You're so much always thinking of what could go wrong and so on. And I had to take a step back. And I realized I've never been this happy in my life. Never. And what's incredible is I never expected to be happy. It was not a goal. It was not an option. I was proud. I was super proud of what we were doing. Happiness, I don't know, it's a weird concept. But what you realize is that for the last 20 years, I've been a gazelle in the middle of the savannah, wondering where the cheetah is going to come, where the leopard, where the lion. That's being an entrepreneur like us. And it's true that the first 16 years were horribly difficult, so I was all the time on edge. And the last 3 years have been incredible. Doesn't mean it's been easy, because other issues happen. We couldn't produce the components, there are other issues which came. But I don't think I'll ever stop being a gazelle. Even when things are good, I'm always on edge. But at the end of the day, I've never been this happy.
And you are doing great.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Can you tell us about your first visit to Dubai and your initial interaction with Siddiqui to become retailers for your brand?
The first time I came to Dubai was 1998 with Harry Winston. I just taken over Harry Winston, which was in a very bad situation. And I went to see Majeed Siddiqui, who was already a retailer, but he was selling like 2-3 watches a year of Harry Winston. No? Mm-hmm. And I asked why he wasn't selling, and he explained that there were a lot of issues in the market. And I said, look, I'll fix them. And I'm just a youngster, I'm 30 years old. He looks at me and says, okay. And I was like, well, you want to order a few watches? And he says, we'll see. Okay. That's in November 98. In April 99, I do my first Basel fair, and I take a very, very tough decision to actually not take the order of one of our neighbors here, who was the biggest client of Harry Winston, for many reasons, and who was actually killing the whole market. And I was basically created suicide, because it was like 70% of our business. I just said to that person, I'm not selling you anymore. And Majeed must have heard about that, but I didn't know. So on the last day of the fair, he comes to say goodbye. And we sit down, and he says, how is it? And of course, it was a disaster for us. I mean, we lost our biggest client. Yes. And as everybody in the watch fair, you say, oh, everything great. and I say, look, and he looks at me and he says, it'll be okay. I'll always remember. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be okay. He looks at me and says, when are you coming to Dubai? I said, whenever you want. When you come, call me. Okay, next month, I go to Dubai. I call him up, I go and see him. We're still in Bur Dubai, yeah? It's his little office in Bur Dubai. And he says, do you have a catalog? And I didn't have so little means that my catalog was actually drawings. We didn't even have the means to take photos at Harry Winston in those days. And so I show him, and he opens. It was a big catalog with all sorts of pages. And he goes, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2. 2, 2, 1, 1. And I'm just looking at him like this. He was selling like 3 watches a year. And at some point he looks at me and he says, aren't you going to take my order? And I'm looking, what order? He says, take my order. And he gave me 65 pieces on order.
And this was
1999.
1999.
He is one of the people who's going to help me save Harry Winston. And I'll never forget that. Never, ever. And because he'd heard that I'd kept my word, I think, and he wanted to show me that he was going to support me. And so that was 99. We did 7 incredible years with Harry Winston, with Siddiqui family. And then, 2005, I quit Harry Winston, come with my drawing of HM1 and a little piece of plastic which was painted by hand, and tell him, okay, this is my new concept, this is my brand, it's going to be a creative lab. And he looks at this, and Mohammed was there by then, and they're all looking at this going, okay, how many do you want us to take? I was like, oh, if you can take 1 of each. There were 4. He said, there's just a little problem. I said, what's the problem? I don't have enough money. I put all my savings in it, and I knew that I needed my retailers to pay me a third in advance 2 years before I delivered. And nobody ever does that in this industry. And he will accept. He and 4 other retailers around the world are going to say, okay. So he was there for me in 99. He was there for me in 2005. As much as I can say, the Siddiqui family is my family.
Nice to know that. And that's, I guess, is that one of the reasons that you are in Dubai now?
I'm in Dubai because I used to always love Dubai. I used to come here on holiday. And when my wife Tiffany got pregnant 12 years ago, I said, we have to leave Geneva. She's like, what do you mean? You're married to your company. I said, that's the problem. Because if we continue living next to the factory, I'm going to go early, I'm going to come back in the evening, I'm going to be on my phone the rest of the time, and I will be the father that my father was to me. And I don't want to be that father. And so she said, okay, well, where do you want to go? And we looked at the map and started looking where we could go. And it just made sense. Let's try Dubai. So we arrived 10 years ago here, rented a house, which was way over my budget, and got IKEA furniture and a Korean car, which was the cheapest possible, and looked if A, my wife would be happy, well, you know that's very important, and B, that I could actually manage my company from 6,000 kilometers away. This was 10 years ago. Nobody worked from home in those days. When I told my team that I was going to live in Dubai, they looked at me like, I was every day, all the time connected to my company. I said, look, let's try. So we came here, we tried. That was 10 years ago. And we're here. I've got an 11-year-old daughter. So my first daughter was 1, and my second is 7. She was born here. They both go to the school here, and we're part of this world. We're part of the city.
We are so happy having you with us here in Dubai, Max. Okay, Max, now we will ask you these questions. Many collectors share this thought with me. Please explain your watches as you would to a watchmaker from 200 years ago.
Oh, wow. Well, if I had to show what I do to a watchmaker of 200 years ago, he would probably have a heart attack. So let's try and keep him alive.
Yes,
okay?
Yes.
So the idea is a great tree needs great roots. You can't have a great tree if you don't have great roots. So I love vintage watchmaking. I love pocket watches. I love pocket watches of the 19th century. I'm less versed in the 18th century. But my idea is watchmaking saved my life. Watchmaking gave me a purpose, gave me a family. I wanted to give back. And what I want to do is 3D kinetic art, which is based on beautiful watchmaking. So I take traditional beautiful watchmaking, deconstruct it, and reconstruct it into 3D machines. They can be completely crazy, like horological machines, which are based a lot on my childhood or other things, or like the Architect we just launched, or they can be more classic. But again, thanks to Stephen McDonnell or thanks to others, we can actually reinterpret something which has always been done the same way for 200 years and do it in a 3D way with something amazing to it. So we will never let anything get out of our workshops if we're not super proud of it and if it doesn't amaze us.
What would a watch designed by you for yourself look like?
Except for the flying T, every single watch you see in our brand was completely designed for me. I create for myself. And I think that's where real creativity really starts. Stop wondering what people want. Create for yourself. Create something which makes you proud. And there is where real innovation will come, because if you keep on wanting to pleasing people, you will create like everybody else.
Exactly.
And I have enormous admiration for creators, not only in the watch world, but everywhere, who've taken the risk of doing something very different because it was what they wanted to do for themselves. And that's one of the bases of MB&F.
Great. Okay. We have seen many people adapt the Max formula and start brands with out-of-the-box design or collaboration with outside manufacturers. Who do you think has done it best, and why do you think that many have not succeeded, with some even shutting down?
Well, you should never create a watch brand because you think it's a business. Because up till recently, it was not. You can ask François Paul Journe, Felix Baumgartner, Kari, all of us, from 2000, the early 2000s to 2020, it was tough. It was so tough. A lot of us, I mean, luckily we didn't, but a lot of the independents lost money, had really tough times. It's not a business. So if you come into this thinking it's a business, you're probably going to fail. If you come into this because if you don't do it, you can't look at yourself in the mirror, because you need to express yourself. You need to create something. Because you're a creator, then we welcome you with the arms open. But we don't welcome businessmen. We welcome creators. And it doesn't have to be crazy. It can be super classic. We were just talking about Rémi Coul's. There's a beautiful piece, super classic. But he's got integrity. He's got love. It's his way of expressing himself. So I love my artisanal watchmaking world, because there are still people like me who do it for love. And they actually usually succeed. Those who do it for the money, they don't.
Exactly. So it might be a business, but the main cause has to be the passion and the love for the business, for what you are doing, actually.
Absolutely.
For watchmaking itself.
It's a way of expressing yourself, and it's a way, you know, a certain amount of people come to see me and say, oh, I want to create a brand. I'm like, okay, why? And if they say, I hate my job, okay, stay in your job. Because there's a big chance you're going to go bankrupt and you're going to be even unhappier. Yeah. So that's the first thing. If it's, I think there's money, or I think there's a market, I'm like, oh God, just please don't come. And if I can't do this, I think I will have missed something in my life. I'm like, come on, let's do something. And, you know, I've seen recently also some younger guys buying old brands or taking over brands. There's these youngsters who've just taken over M.A.D. or relaunching M.A.D. Okay? So they really did a really cool piece, which is more or less the replica of the original, but much better made. And I took the liberty of telling them, if you bought this brand, if you created this brand to do the same thing as 1976, there's no point. And they looked at me like, what? I said, no point. In 76, when it came out, it was a revolution. So you're just milking the cow. But now I trust you. You're going to use that, and you're going to do something even greater thanks to that. And then I'll welcome you. But as long as you only copy it, nah.
So did you see their recent launch?
Yeah, this at Watches and just, well, like a few weeks ago.
Did you like it?
honestly, for the price, it's a great piece, and it's really well executed, and I've ordered one, and I think it's a great. But now I'm expecting the next chapter. Like, you've done that, you've copied the 1976 piece. Now show me that you've got so many more ideas that you're going to make that 76 piece be even crazier, even more interesting.
I guess this challenge in every kind of business, like you in your brand, you reached HM11. So this is the craziest thing that I have ever seen. So I really, and you are telling me there are many crazy things are coming. So I really think.
I had a drop in creativity. I think we all have I think all of us had a drop after 10 years. If I look at my friends and colleagues, now we're at 20 years next year. And I think there was a moment where I didn't realize that I was going in circles, even though others didn't realize. And I have to thank Michael Tay, the owner of the Hourglass, who in 2018 sat me down, and he's known me for 25 years. And he looked at me and he says, "You're becoming predictable." And it was like a kick in the stomach. I was like, "What? I'm so creative." He's like, "Yeah, 1 LM, 1 HM, your story of your childhood, blah, blah, blah." Like, okay. And that, I have to thank him. The people like that, when they challenge you, they're giving you a gift. And you have to take that gift. It hurt. But from there, I've pivoted. I've taken so many more risks. Well, of course, there's the M.A.D edition, but there is something you're going to see at the end of the year, which is, there's so many other the products I've created over the years that I didn't dare come out with. But now with that success we've had, now let's do it, even if it doesn't make any sense, even if it makes no financial sense, no brand sense, because my team's like, "What are we going to do with this? It's not an HM, it's not an LM, it's not a M.A.D. I don't care. It's cool. Let's do it." So let's try. Let's challenge and try. And so I think I love our world because you can take risks. You have to have the courage. You have to jump, but you can take risks. So don't go and do the same thing as everybody else. Take risks.
I agree. MB&F galleries or labs are not just places to display your own watches and clocks. They are full art galleries with pieces from various artists. Mm-hmm. Where did you get the idea to start a gallery, and why did you choose to display other people's creation alongside with yours?
It's a long story because the first gallery started in 2011 in Geneva. And when we started, we were totally clueless. And I remember going to my team, which was a tiny team. I think we were 9 in the company in those days. I said, "I've got an idea. Let's do a mechanical art gallery." And everybody looks at me like, "What's he talking about?" And nobody in the team had ever done any retail, me included. Nobody in the team had had a gallery. I was like, "What is this?" And my idea was, in 2011, when we did the first, there were no legacy machines. Actually, legacy machine launched the year of the M.A.D gallery. So HM1, 2, 3, and 4. And I saw that when I was trying to explain what I did to most people, they just didn't get it. So at some point I went, okay, the watch retailers don't get what I'm doing. Let's go to art galleries. And I showed my HMs to art galleries. And they looked at me and they said, "But this is a watch." So the watch retailers say this is not a watch. And the art gallery says it's a watch. So let's try and create a mechanical art gallery, which is a hybrid. And the idea was, if you curate other mechanical creators, I remember one of the first people we had was Shikara Nagata. Nagata-san is this incredibly talented motorcycle creator in Japan. In his whole life, he's created 7 motorcycles over 20 years. He does everything with his hands. He buys all vintage engines, and the rest he does himself. He just buys the engine and tires. He takes 3 to 4 years to make one. And when you see one of his pieces, your jaws just go, "Oh." And if you understand what he's trying to do, then maybe you'll understand what I'm trying to do. Because yes, you go and buy Yamaha, Kawasaki, Ducati, whatever, for 80,000 dirhams, you've got an incredible driving machine. A Shikara piece, he was selling for about 1.2 million dirhams. Remember, he spent 4 years doing everything from scratch. Is it efficient? No. but it's so extraordinary. And it's the life of a human being. And I remember going to Japan and meeting Nagata-san with a translator, talking to him. And at some point I said, but he hadn't sold any. Like in the first 12 years, he hadn't sold a... And I was like, but how do you live? And he tells the translator that he does some graphic design and product design on the side to eat and pay his rent.
To live, yeah.
And then he says something to the translator, who's a lady, and they get all excited and they're all talking in Japanese in front of me. I know what's happening here. And the lady translator, she looks down and she says, Nagata-san tells me to tell you, his wife has left him, he has no more friends, but he can't stop doing what he does.
Wow.
Wow. And you're like, wow. Yeah, incredible. And so if I can showcase that to the world and show you can be an artist with mechanical sculptures, maybe you'll understand what I'm trying to do. And so it's been two things. A, it's been a decoding machine which helped people understand better what I was trying to do. But two, also, it's my way of giving back. Because virtually all the artists you see in this gallery do not have galleries to represent them. Because normal galleries do not want to deal with anything mechanical or kinetic, because you can have technical issues, because you have to explain it. It's like, oh, it's easier to do paintings and photos. And so we're a bit like an orphanage. All our artists have only got this home. So it's my way also, it's our way, the team, to give back. And I think that's important. Turning now, I'm 57, the company's going to be 20. You realize when we grow older, it's time to give back.
Exactly. I guess also maybe you're working with, when you were in Harry Winston, you had some collaboration with, I guess, Abidjan, Karivotalainen, and Orwork.
So not Kari, actually I never worked with Kari, Vianney. Kari I went to see when in my, because Kari started his company like, I think 2 years before I started MB&F. So it's interesting because if you look at it, François Paul started his company in 2000. Yeah. I think Richard Mille in 2001 or 2002. Orwork a little bit before 97, something like, but the 103, which actually really made them, was 2003. And De Bethune and us started about that time. It was a moment where there was a resurgence of creativity of classic, Kari started around 2003, his company also. Grubel Force also. I mean, we all started more or less there. That was a defining moment of our industry. The industry had gone through very classic reiterations of the past, and suddenly there was a group of creators. We were all in our 30s and 40s where, you know what? We want to write another page. We want to write another chapter. And then it stopped, meaning they wouldn't, except for Recep, who came a bit after. And now we've got a new generation coming in the last 2-3 years. But what's really incredible is that most of this new generation, they do vintage-looking watches. They do classic watches. And so the guys who, in the 2000s, there was the Freak, the Orwork, the Richard Mille, us and others, who basically were the rock and roll of watchmaking. And now the new generation, 20 years later, is much more classic. It's as if they're doing classical music. And maybe rock and roll will come back in the other generation. It's going to be interesting.
Your generation, almost 20 years. And I guess generation now, we need to give them also at least 20 years to. Personally, I'm a big fan of your generation. You and De Bethune, Orwork, Kari Voutilainen. You all started at the same time, almost, more or less. So I'm a big fan of this generation, for sure. So,
we're getting old, huh? We've got white beards now, huh?
Yeah. Welcome to the club, Max. Okay, so traditionally, brands do not like to disclose who helped them on their projects, while you highlight them. What led you to make this decision?
So it's all a question of education. I have to thank my parents for that, and especially my mother. My mother was a Zoroastrian, and I was brought up with good thoughts, good words, good deeds, and treat people the way you want to be treated, which I just realized a few months ago, which tells you, like, we always continue learning. I thought it was the same thing as the Judeo-Christian, do not do to others what you don't want others to do to you, which is very the Christian way of brother. But do not do to others what you don't want others to do to you is do not be evil.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean be good. That's do not be evil. But treat people the way you want to be treated, the way my mom taught me, is do to others, be good, help other people. Did I understand what she meant when I was in my 20s? No, not at all. 30s, a little bit, and then it hit. Then in my mid-30s, it hit when my dad passed away, and realizing, and that's where I'm coming to. If I was somebody working for a brand, I would love that brand to credit me. So of course I'm going to credit you, because if I were in your shoes, that's what I would like. Treat people the way you would want to be treated. And it's the fundamental, one of the many fundamentals of MB&F, and why I called it Unfriends.
Although there are many, what are some of your proudest moments at MB&F during its lifetime?
Wow. I probably should have asked for the questions before. God. There's so many. I think the proudest moments stem either from taking the greatest risks, from creating products where everybody, me included, was terrified, like the HM4. I often talk of the Thunderbolt, the HM6, the Flying T, where everybody's like, what, you're doing a watch for ladies? Which lady wants an MB&F? None of them wants it. And I was like, I know, it's just for my wife. I'm doing it for her. So all these moments of doubt, all these moments where you're, what am I doing? LM1. I mean, I created MB&F to create horological machines. And in the middle of that, at some point, what was supposed to be HM5, I end up saying, you know what? Let's take a risk. Let's do a classic round watch. And everybody in the team looks at me like, what are you talking about? And we do it. And it's crazy. And maybe you know what I'm most proud of? Is that if you go back to our 19 years, we have done everything wrong. Everything we've done was wrong. If you go to do an MBA, if you read management books, they will tell you that everything we've done is do not do that. But what we did because we felt it was right. And it actually worked. And some didn't, but even if they didn't, we're proud of them. And they're now what I'm really proud of is this next generation MB&F, where I am doing everything I can to make myself less important and less crucial, and maybe one day not be there, because maybe one day I won't be there. And so that mentoring is really, really interesting. It's a different mindset which has changed. And I'll give you an example. MAD1 green. So we've done the blue, we've done the red, we've done the green. When we do the lottery of the green, I don't know how many, there were 30,000 people who registered for the lottery. There were 1,500 watches. We send the results out, and we start seeing on social media a lot of people being fed up. Like, oh, I keep on losing, I'm fed up with this. And so we do a debrief meeting, and I'm like, guys, I read on social media a lot of angry people, disappointed people, annoyed people. We didn't do that to annoy people. And I think it was Harris in the team who looks at me and says, why don't we do a watch for all those who lost? That's a great idea.
The lucky one.
The lucky clover. And in 45 minutes, we went from, we feel that people are unhappy. 45 minutes later, we had the concept, we had the name, and we decided we're going to do it. And 3 weeks later, we announced to the whole world, all of you guys who lost 3 times, so 2 times red, 1 time green, we're doing one piece for you guys, if you want it. If you don't want it, it's not a problem. I was incredibly proud of my team that day, because it's exactly what it embodies us. Taking risks, doing things what most people would not do, but be human, be kind, be caring. And it just embodies so much what MB&F stands for.
Yes, I remember it very well, and we really like this gesture. It was really nice, and gave the chance for those people who, especially many people in my community, were so happy and they were lucky to get it. I know it's still the demand is still high, but you somehow managed to please.
At least those who had lost 3 times. Now, of course, when we did that, so there were about 1,200 people who had lost 3 times.
Okay.
There were 12,000 who had lost twice, and there were like 45,000 who had lost once. Of course, when we announced that those who had lost 3 times were going to get one, all the others like, me, what about me? Like, I can't do 12,000 pieces, and I even less can do 45,000 pieces. So bear with me. That's all I can do for the moment, and then we'll continue, and there'll be more ideas, and we haven't found a better way to do it as easily. You don't have to go in queue in a store. You don't have to be in front of your computer at 3 o'clock in the morning with your credit card going like this. It's the easiest way is the raffle. If you find another way, if anybody of your readers has a better way, please tell me, because we're looking for a better way.
Sure. We will ask people for a better solution or suggestion. We will see. Maybe they will come up with something interesting. Sure. Okay, not everyone has the opportunity to work with industry greats like Henry John Belmont and Gunther Blumlein. So what were the most important lessons you learned from them?
I think your first job is very, very important for any youngster when he starts, she starts. And I was incredibly lucky to start at Jaeger when it was virtually bankrupt. It was in a really dire situation. When I started at Jaeger LeCoultre, the revenue of the brand was 1/3 of what I do at MB&F today. To give you an idea of the size of the company, it was tiny. I mean, there's a lot of people working there, but it was like... And Henry John Belmont, who's the man who's going to relaunch Jaeger, and Gunther Blumlein, of course, who was the boss of Henry John Belmont. So I was incredibly lucky to have that first job. And what Henry John taught me is if you have a great purpose, whatever the people in the team, you don't need to have superstars. You just need to have nice people who love that purpose, and you can move mountains. There was no superstar in the Jaeger LeCoultre team, but we saved that company and we took it to wherever it was when I left. And it was just like teamwork, nonstop, and everybody wanted it to succeed. There were no politics. It's let's save this company. So it really was that whoever you assemble, if they're good people, good in their heart, and you've got a great purpose, you can move mountains. What Gunther Blumlein taught me was many other things. It's interesting because Blumlein and Belmont were 100% product people. They were both incredible product creators, and I've always been a product creator. But what Gunther Blumlein taught me, and I've told this story a few times, but it's so important, is that in one of the meetings we had, I was the product manager, and so Blumlein would come every 3 months, and we would present to him the advance of the project and the new ideas we had and whatever. And he was so charismatic and so smart that if he disagreed with us, usually everybody would shut up. And it's like, okay. And on one particular point, I would not let go. And I started battling with him, debating. He wanted the product like this, we wanted like that, and I was just a junior, and I didn't let go. I was like this little Jack Russell, you know, like, brr, 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 brr. And I could see that Blumlein was getting more and more irritated with me. And at some point, he takes his half glasses off, and he looks at me and he says, "Mr. Büsser!" And then I can see like all my colleagues go, "Oh, he's fired." And he looks at me and says, "Creativity is not a democratic process." Probably one of the most important lessons in my life. If you're going to create something strong, do not listen to committees. Do not listen to everybody. one person has to take the decision. And I have applied that in my life afterwards. I listen to everybody, but I decide. And so, yeah, that's one of the many things that Günther Blümlein was probably the greatest person I met in my professional life. He was extraordinary. I was devastated when he passed away very early. And I'll tell you another story, which is not related to what I learned, but Günther was pretty tough. He was very tough, actually. When I left Jaeger LeCoultre, the whole team of Jaeger really took it very badly, especially Henri-John Belmont and all the directors. They felt betrayed because we were family, and you don't leave the family. But I got this insane opportunity of becoming the managing director of Harry Winston at 31 years old. I was like, I have to try. And so most of them just like shut me out. And the first Basel Fair, that famous first Basel Fair where Abdul Majeed Siddiqui came to see me, nobody of Jaeger LeCoultre came. Nobody came to see me. I was at first floor of Basel and they were on the... There was one person who came. It was Günther Blümlein. He suddenly arrived, somebody told, oh, there's Mr. Blümlein to see you. Like, oh, I came down, hello, Mr. Blümlein. And he said, how's it going? And I'm like, it's tough. And he looked at me. And he'd never praised me. Günther Blümlein had never praised me in my life. And he said, if somebody can do it, you can. And it was incredible. It was, yeah, it was, sorry. It was, what it meant for me, that he gave me that message was incredible. So yeah, I'm so sad he's gone.
Sorry for bringing up this.
No, it's important. It's important that we relive these stories. Sorry. Because that's how we construct ourselves.
Yeah, I know this kind of moment with the great people like him always leave a scar on your memory forever.
Yeah, but they also bring great moments of strength.
Yes.
Because when people you've admired have given you their trust, that means so much more. That's how you build yourself.
So it's a nice feeling. So if you will show him one of your timepieces, which one would you pick and will go and show him this is, and you are so proud of it? Or something you think you might like in your timepieces? Which one?
I would show him. I would show him at least two, and maybe three. I'd show him my HM11, my architect, to see that what actually can be done in watchmaking when you think out of the box. And I think he would have been amazed by it, as much in the watchmaking, because he was an engineer, and Henri-John Belmont also, who's still amongst us. They're product and engineers. So I'd show him that, and I'd show him one of Stephen McDonald's pieces, because I mean, the sequential, the perpetual, have rewritten a chapter in watchmaking. Well, I can say that because I didn't do it. It was Stephen. And then I would also dare show him a MA.D one, because when you're a brand which does 400,000, 600,000 dirham, hand-finished, beautiful artisanship watches, you do not come out with a 12,000 dirham industrial watch. And we did it, and everybody thought we were nuts. And I think it's a proof that if you've got a pure thought, creative thought, forget about the business implications. Just do it.
I agree. So you worked with Eric Caudry to create the Thunderdome, right? So was he someone you met while you were working the GLC?
Yeah, 33 years ago, when I entered Jaeger, he'd entered like a year before, I think, a year, maybe 2 years before. We were youngsters. We were in our 20s, and I worked 7 years with him. And I love Eric. He is so different from everybody else. And I remember telling him one day when I left, like, one day we'll work together. And that again is part of your story. There are people in your life which are important. Sometimes you'll lose contact. But try and get back. Try and get back with them.
So are there any other talented watchmaker or individuals you met during your time at GLC and Harry Winston?
Well, we're not so young anymore, those that I met, and I've worked with a lot of them.
Is there any, I ask you these questions because I'm thinking, will you ever, we never say never, I guess you made it now exclusive for Stephen McDonnell and Carrie?
Mm-hmm.
That you will work with
for the future. I mean, but again, there are a lot of, there are some super talented young creators now. And I would love to work with them. But what's happened is that most of them have created their brands. And they've created their brands in a moment where today a young watchmaker comes out of watchmaking school, puts on Instagram the watch he created as his diploma, and you've immediately got 50 collectors going, take my money. So when we started 20, 25 years ago, there was no social media. There was not even virtually any internet. And to go and get anybody know about you, you had to travel the world and go and give interviews to print magazines who would write about you. So our lives were infinitely more difficult then. So this newer generation have got this absolutely extraordinary opportunity to have a much easier life, at least to get known, than we did. So they are now investing all their talent in creating their products. They don't need, like 23 years ago was the first Opus One. When I went to see François Paul Journe, François Paul was in his first year of launching the brand. Mm-hmm. It was very tough. Now, today, if I go and see somebody who's just launched his brand, he's going to say, you know what, I don't have any energy for you. I don't have any time for you because I've got 50 or 100 collectors who have already given me money and I have to create the watches. So it's more complicated, I think, today. I have identified a lot of talented people, but they don't have the bandwidth to work with anybody else.
Do you think this is a healthy thing that from the prototype they can sell more than 15 or 20 pieces, and we are talking about over 80,000 CHF?
Yeah, look, honestly, it's a good thing. It's a good thing because we want watch creators to concentrate on creating and the artisanship. Get out of their world the whole marketing, PR, sales, which took, at the beginning of MB&F, it took 50% of my bandwidth. And honestly, does that make a better product? No. Sales don't make a better product. Marketing doesn't make a better product. Concentrating on creating a great product makes a better product. So I'm very happy that this generation can concentrate on that. Maybe it's become a bit too easy. And now as collectors, you're going to have to be a little bit careful to don't jump and give your money to everybody, because a lot of people can just come up with like a drawing or a half-working prototype, and maybe that watch will not really come out, or it won't really work, or maybe that person will disappear. You have to be a little bit careful as a client.
I agree. So it's really a wonderful conversation, a wonderful time with you, Max, like always. And at last but not least, what is your next? Can you share your next? We don't want you to burn the surprise, but I believe you are going to surprise us this year.
There are a few surprises. There is, end of May, there is an amazing, how would I say, next step in one of the Stephen McDonnell pieces, where Stephen has, on an existing movement, added a 6th patent to something really amazing. So that will be end of May. And then there are a few other surprises for you guys. And then end of the year, I'm coming out with something which is not an HM, not an LM, and not a M.A.D. So it's something, it's a special project which doesn't look and is not in the concept of anything I've done. It's part of all these ideas I've had a few years ago, but I didn't dare come out with them. And now, you know what? Let's do it. So we've been working for 4 years on it, and I think it'll be pretty amazing. I love it as usual. I'm a bit scared, but I love the fact that, again, we've taken a risk.
And I guess this is what you were implying too in the beginning of this talk. So it's going to be like the affordable side? Or
It's an MB&F. It's an MB&F. It's not a M.A.D. No.
Not a M.A.D. Because you were talking about the M.A.D.
So M.A.D, M.A.D, when I started, it was just 450 pieces for friends and family. That was what it was originally in 2021 when we launched it.
For the tribe.
For the tribe, exactly, and for the friends. And then this whole thing went crazy. And by the time, and I kept on saying, I don't want this to be a business. I don't want this to take over MB&F. So I was keeping it as small as I could. And by the time I realized, actually, I can have a lot of fun creating other watches at that price point, but they're very complex to do. Because what I'm trying to do with M.A.D is to stay at 2,900 francs. And so to create something where people go, whoa, and oh, by the way, it's only, what? Only 2,900 francs? It's not easy. So a ton of ideas. There are a lot of people around me have ideas, and we need to work on them. So the M.A.D 2 will be coming out next year. And in the middle, in September, we'll have another iteration of M.A.D 1, but it's very different from the existing M.A.D 1. And so then there's M.A.D 3 and there's M.A.D 4. Everything is in the pipeline. Now everything is launched. But it took me 18 to 24 months to realize that actually you can have fun here, and it's not just a one time only as I originally thought it was.
That's so nice. So you involved all the other people who cannot afford the other watches. So yeah, so M.A.D 2 will be totally different shape?
Totally different concept, different everything. And different creator. So M.A.D 1, if my name is at the back, M.A.D 2 is somebody else's name.
Ooh, new collaboration.
So it's going to be something more where I let other people express themselves.
From the company itself, from out the company?
Outside.
Outside. Ooh.
So it's not a collaboration. It's really somebody else's idea. So that'll be interesting.
Well, it's really nice to know this, and thank you very much, Max, to share with us this information. I believe all the audience will be excited for that. And yeah, you just launched a lot of excitement. So looking forward to see all these pieces coming soon. All the best, Max.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to see you again. I guess it will be maybe in Geneva Watch Days.
For sure.
In Geneva Watch Days.
For sure.
End of August 29th.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Max, for having us here, and looking forward to see you soon.
As usual.
Thank you very much. Thank you.